Hi, we're Richard and Jackie from Early Retirement Wanderlust. If you saw our last video, you'll know that we had an amazing week skiing with our children up in the luxuries of Arc 1950.
And as you can probably see now, we're not in 1950 and we are living out of our camper van for 3 weeks on a campsite in the valley. So in this video, what we thought we'd do is take you on a day in the life of Early Retirement Wanderlust, living in a camper van in a ski resort. So before we start, you might have realised that we've been radio silent for a few days because Jackie's not been too well. She's been really poorly.
I think I must have caught COVID or the flu off one of the contained lifts or the funicular, but I'm back on form now, so hopefully raring for a really good day on the mountains. It's the first time I've been out for 5 days.
And one of the big things we want to impress in this video is that we are taking life so much slower. When we were out with the kids up in 1950 in a ski-in, ski-out resort, it was just so full on. I think partly due to the weather conditions.
But actually now we're down back in the valley, we do get into quite a bit of a routine of just Richard doing his little bits in the morning, and we walk to the funicular and just have a nice day up in the mountains. We have a strict budget now we're back down in the valley, so we'll sort of show you how we share that budget and spend it.
So what we're going to do is crack on now and show you our full day in its entirety from start to finish on what we get up to and how the skiing is from here. We are very definitely now in the travelling mindset as opposed to the holiday mindset when we were with our kids last week. We try and keep things when we're on the road as similar as we possibly can to when we're at home. So we try and keep our routines the same, we try and keep our budget the same. So this morning, as per usual, I got up earlier than Jackie. It's pretty dark still, and my morning routines are very similar to when they're at home. Obviously, they're much more confined when we're in Little Nelson. So I get up, I have my coffee, I do my journaling, a bit of meditation and a little bit of work, but that pretty much stays the same until Jackie wakes up, and then we've actually got to get on with breakfast. And the fact that we are no longer in holiday mode, we'd love, if we're in France, to be eating pastries every day, but that would not be great for us. So we just keep it really simple, we keep it on a budget, and we just have porridge, but a little bit more of that later.
I love my morning routines in the van. My little coffee fairy and my little bread fairy's already done all of the jobs, so I wake up to a nice hot cup of coffee and the bread's ready for us to make sandwiches to take onto the mountains. And all that's left is for us to have some breakfast. As Richard said, we tend to have porridge when we're in the van because it's nice and warm, it's filling, and it sets us up for the day. Richard's never been a lover of porridge, and I've tried to convert him over the last 12 months, is it, Rich?
Yeah, I guess for most of my adult years, I've had an active aversion to porridge. I just could not get my head round it. I reckon it was because I had to have ready brek when I was a kid, and just the thought of a milky breakfast in the morning, no, it did nothing for me. But then, like at the age of 53, I had an epiphany moment, and we now just make the best porridge because I add in my granola, I add in fresh fruit, I add in dried fruit, and the secret ingredient that clearly everyone knew but I didn't, which is golden syrup as well. And it just makes the best start on a cold and pretty frosty morning this morning.
So one of the things that we do every morning is have a look at our budget for the day. We do set ourselves €30, which equates to €210 a week, which is about our £200 cash is king budget that we have at home. And we do take it out in cash, and anything that's left from the day before is a bit of a bonus. We might be able to afford to have a little bit more of a treat on the mountain. So actually today we've got €35 left, so we might even be able to afford a little bit of a cake on the mountain today. But it does keep us really honest. We have found the really cheap coffee shops, we've found places to go for really cheap happy hour beers if we feel like we want a treat. But we have been really good while we've been in the valley at keeping to our €30 a day. Actually, most days we've had quite a lot left over. The first expense that we have in the day is that Richard goes and collects the bread from the campsite office. It's €1.60 and we just make ourselves some picnics to take onto the mountain. It just saves so much money rather than eating out on the mountains, and it doesn't actually feel like we are making a compromise. We have whatever we want in the sandwiches. We've got some really nice hams and cheeses, and we take lots of chocolates and things, and there's some really nice picnic spots, so hopefully we'll share one of our favourite places with you today.
You might be able to see that the weather is not as perfect as we would have liked today. We had the most unbelievable week of weather when we were out with the kids, and if you saw last week's video, you'd have seen nothing but beautiful snow, blue skies, and just stunning days. The thing about being in the Alps long term is you get all the weathers, and it's different every time you go up the mountain. And we actually quite like that, so don't really know what it's going to be like up top today, but we'll take you along because that's just our normal day. We have done this walk in so many different conditions. It can be like a little Narnia, so covered in snow, or it can be blowing a hoolie, or like this morning, it's almost spring-like conditions.
It is a great little walk. It's about 15-20 minutes to get us from the campsite to the funicular. It warms us up, ready for our skiing, and it gets my steps in for the day. So doing this twice a day just about gives me my 10,000 steps a day.
And in terms of a mindset, it is just such a slower start to the day and a much more relaxed start to the day, and it's one of the things that we actually love. We could catch the bus if we wanted, but it's just 3 steps in a beautiful place.
And although we love ski in, ski out, we can actually be from the campsite to the top of the funicular and on the slopes within about 40 minutes if we time it right.
The great thing about the funicular is that I think it's really ahead of its time. It is really eco-friendly, so it's a 5-minute train journey to whisk you up the mountainside, and it just saves so much driving. It gets you right up to 1600 and the first lift, and it is just so convenient. We were never massive fans of skiing from the valley, but it just makes that we can stay down in the valley where it's so much cheaper, which therefore in our early retirement we can stay for longer, and it just works for us.
Something that we were advised to do, and it was a really great piece of advice, was to book a ski locker up at Arc 1600 so that we could just walk in our normal trainers and then just get booted and skied up at the top, and we don't have to carry them.
It's fabulous value for money, or we think it is. It's €6 a day, and it means that all your kit's nice and safe, it's dry, and even more luxuriously, you get warm boots to put on in first thing in the morning.
The lockers do get booked up really, really quickly, and you do have to email early on and get them booked. first lift out about 1600 for the day, and it's 5 degrees, and I'm so excited to actually be back up in the mountains after 5 days.
So the biggest question on most people's lips when they're coming out into the mountains is what runs they're going to do and how far they're going to ski. The biggest question on our lips is when is the first coffee stop? So we are going to have a gentle pootle around the mountains, and then we are probably going to take you down to our favourite and possibly the cheapest coffee stop on the mountain, which is just the best of both worlds.
Definitely not a blue sky day. So I have to make a confession. We were going to go and have cheap coffees, but I don't fancy coffee at all after being poorly, so I've blown the budget and had a hot chocolate. That was €4.
€4 20. Unbelievable.
But it's nice.
And my coffee au longe was $1.30, so I reckon that is possibly the cheapest coffee on the mountain, and it was really good. And the sun came out.
Yeah, it's blue skies now. We've had a really lovely morning skiing so far, so hopefully it'll keep it up now.
So, top tactic, have a late coffee, everyone then goes to lunch, we have a quiet ski, and then we'll have a late lunch. So we're going to go and have a pootle around the mountains, and then we will catch you at the picnic spot, hopefully.
Okay, so the day did really not end as we had planned.
We had a fantastic day skiing. As you could probably see, the weather was coming in and out all of the day, but towards the end of the afternoon and when we stopped for lunch, it had really pulled in quite significantly.
Yeah, the cold really got to my chest, and as we finished lunch and started to get back out skiing again, I could feel myself deteriorate really quickly. So we got off the mountain, and I ended up going to Bourg Saint-Maurice Hospital. And turns out that I have got a infection in my right lung, so I've got a chest infection. But the care that I got at the hospital was absolutely superb. I was there for 3 hours. I had a chest x-ray, an ECG, lots of blood tests. They put me on an IV drip for fluids and an IV antibiotic drip, and all of that for €19.20. The important message that I learnt there is that I travelled when I was skiing with my GHIC card, and as soon as I got there, they took my identity card and my GHIC card, and all of it was covered, which was really good.
Yeah, the level of care and just the welcoming nature, they were just so caring, weren't they? And, you know, we felt like potentially we could have been in a really alien environment with no one speaking English, but they were just so lovely.
So it wasn't the end to the day that we wanted, but they did send me home by about 9 o'clock last night, and we went to collect the prescription that they've given me this morning for a course of antibiotics. Again, we thought that would cost us a fortune. We weren't fully prepared with the credit card just in case, and it was €18 something for 2 different prescriptions, which again, could not fault the French equivalent of the NHS, I guess.
Yeah, they were fab. What they weren't particularly fab at is they've been a little bit naughty, and they wrote on the prescription that Jackie cannot take part in any active sports or go to altitude for a good few days until she's recovered, which has not gone down too well. But what it does mean is we've still got a few days of our trip left where Jackie will be able to ski, and you know, I can see you getting stronger day by day, so we're looking forward to that, and we're looking forward to trying to get together a day in the life part 2, really, because we couldn't have shown you anything after lunch anyway, because it just whited out, and there was no way I was going to be sitting and drinking après beers out in the snow. But hopefully, if Jackie's fit towards the end of the week, we will try and revisit that video.
So that was our attempt at a day in the life of early retirement wanderlust. Not quite the day we expected.
So we're going to have a good few days of resting up, and then we will catch you next time. So see you later. Bye.
Bye.